Dun 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 dun! Will you look at that? I got this beautiful, beautiful steak here that I want to eat tomorrow. And what I want to do now is, first of all, get it on a plate. Make sure it's dry. Well, actually, it doesn't have to be super dry, because the next thing I'm going to do now is going to draw out some of the moisture. This is huge. This is about 20 ounce. It's a bone-in ribeye steak that I got from the butcher shop. Looks absolutely fantastic. And I'm going to salt this. Oh, this side looks way better. It says AAA, but this is borderline Canadian Prime. I'm gonna put salt, a lot of salt on both sides. We go with the salt. Well, actually, let's just do this. Now, the salt is going to do a couple of things. First of all, it's obviously going to season the steak. And, you know, this is a huge steak. So although this might look like an obscene amount of salt, trust me, it's not. So the first thing it's going to do is to season the steak, and as it sits overnight, osmosis is going to happen, meaning that the salt is going to draw out the moisture, and the surface is going to be nice and dry, which is exactly what I want when I'm cooking a steak. I want the surface to be dry so that I can have a pronounced crust. I've just laid it flat, and I've put a paper towel underneath. Now, I wouldn't do this for, you know, anything smaller or thinner than this, any steak that's like smaller than this, because it's just not worth the effort. And also, I don't always do this even with big steaks like this. Sometimes I just want a steak right away, so I'll just take it out of the fridge, pat it dry, season it, and throw it in the pan. But, you know, I happen to have some time. And as you can see here, just minutes after putting salt on the steak, I can already see the moisture coming out, so that's exactly what I want. And we will see you tomorrow.
The next day.
Look at this. It almost looks like it's been dry aged. Because the color's got darker, and it looks absolutely amazing. Now, aromatics. Rosemary, thyme, garlic. Turn the heat up to high.
And here we go.
Once again, some post-commentary. So, I'm adding some vegetable oil into the pan. A good amount of olive oil, not olive oil, vegetable oil. I'd say 2 to 3 tablespoons, enough to cover the bottom. Now I'm waiting for the oils to heat up a bit. It's been 2,000 years. Now finally, the steak goes straight in. And I'm pressing it down to ensure maximum contact between the steak and the pan. And now we wait. Or maybe not. Just give it a few pokes. Why not? Now there are different ways of applying the oil. What I mean by that is some people rub the steak with oil before putting it in the pan. In that case, they're using a dry pan in an oiled up steak. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I don't. And now I'm just letting it sit there for however many seconds that I did. And if you looked into the reflection from the tiles, I grabbed a soda, because why not? And now it's been 45 seconds to a minute. and I'm struggling to flip it over. Now, first flip is never going to look that good, especially in a non-stick pan. There's going to be spots where there's not a lot of browning, and that's okay. And once again, I'm just kind of pushing the steak a little bit towards the pan to make sure that I got maximum contact. Maybe a little bit too much, I don't know. It looks kind of weird. But now I'm letting it sit there, let the pan do the work, as Gordon Ramsay would say. And after, this flip, I'm going to be flipping it much more frequently. I need better tongs, is all I'm trying to say. Another flip, and this side already looks better because the pan is hotter compared with when the steak first went in. Again, some questionable movement with the tongs. Now, one mistake that I made was that I did not score the fat cap, and that's going to cause some problem later on. You'll see in a minute. The steak basically is going to curl up, and it's going to get pretty ugly. But at this stage, everything seemed fine. Again, another flip. You see that side right there. That's some pretty good browning. I thought everything was going right, but little did I know. This was the start of what I would call a small disaster, because you're going to see later how the steak turns out. But anyways, now I'm going in with the aromatics, rosemary, thyme, and garlic. All that stuff is going to sit in there, and it's going to infuse the oil. I'm moving things around because it's a big steak and the pan is kind of not big enough for that. Now another flip. Again, more browning, obviously, and now the pan is smoking up a little bit too aggressively. And then I decided to turn the heat down a bit because now in goes the butter. You don't want the butter to burn, or you don't want it to completely burn, if that makes sense. It's okay to have a little brown butter and nutty flavor, which is actually what happened here. And now I'm grabbing a spoon. I'm doing this thing called basting, which is basically just spooning the hot butter back onto the steak, and I definitely did not burn myself there. Everything was fine. No, it was not. It kind of hurt, but anyways. Now, I would not suggest using a metal spoon with a non-stick pan. I know that's what I did here, but I don't really have a choice. This is the only frying pan I have. Look at that side though. Look at that. Oh my God. My mouth is watering just looking at that. And I just had dinner, not long ago. But that's what butter basting does. It introduces more fat, and when you're spooning the fat over, it kind of patches up the spots that are kind of underbrowned. And it also just adds more flavor. And another thing is it kind of speeds up the cooking process a little bit because you're heating it up from the bottom and the top, if that makes sense. So it's like, a makeshift oven in a way. And of course you're doing this with butter, so pretty self-explanatory with that part. And now one more flip. Now in hindsight, I should have probably pulled the steak out at this point. But I thought this is a big steak, so it probably wouldn't hurt from some more butter basting or whatnot. So here I go again. Now normally you would add probably twice the amount of butter as I did here, but for some reason I just thought, you know, this is fine. And as you can see here, I'm spooning butter onto the parts where it could have used some more color. And this was pretty satisfying, despite me burning myself with hot grease. Now, if you can, I don't know if you can see here, but the steak was starting to curl up a little bit. Like, look at this. This is not. See, like it's weird, and I didn't know what happened there. I thought something went wrong with the steak. Like, was there something wrong with the meat? And then I realized, oh, see, like on the top there's a fat cap, and if you don't like score it with a knife beforehand, the fat is gonna curl up because, you know, for some reason it doesn't cook, it doesn't shrink at the same rate the rest of the meat does. Because obviously the fat cap is mostly fat and the meat is like mostly water, and there's some science going on there that I will probably never know. But at this stage I was panicking a bit. I was like, what the hell is this? So I decided, you know what, let's just call it. So I turned the heat off, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to grab my cutting board here and then just transfer it out and inspect the meat a little bit. Because, yeah, look at that. It doesn't look like a healthy steak, does it?
This guy's been resting for about 7 minutes, roughly the same amount of time that I spent in the pan. So I think that's probably going to be enough. I want to cut into it and see how I did. Bone goes off. Then I want to just cut the fat open. Should have done that before cooking. This is why the steak curled up a little bit, but we'll deal with it. Actually, I'm going to deal with it now. That's good. Okay. Now I want to pick a piece in the middle. See how it's cooked. It's okay. It's more towards medium than medium rare. Oh, and this stuff, this is the good stuff. Garlic that's been roasted. I like to just take the skin off. And stick it on the plate. Still fairly pink. I'm gonna try some garlic. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's good. Now this part is the best part of the steak. So the outside, the decal of the ribeye. So there's the eye, and then there's the, you know, it's like the skirt of the ribeye. This is definitely better. When it's raw, it has more marbling, it looks like. And then when it's cooked, it's just more tender, it has more flavor. And it's also pinker for some reason. You know? Like this is much pinker than the eye section. And as you can see here, there still is some liquid in the plate, on the plate, but it's not like it's, you know, running crazy, the juices. And that's because I let it sit for like 7 minutes, for as long as I cooked it for. You know, I think it's a necessary step if you want steak that's juicy from within instead of, you know, juices flowing everywhere. There isn't really like a gradient from the crust to the middle. There is a small like gray band, but it isn't much. It's because A, the steak didn't spend that much time in the pan. B, I flipped it every 45 seconds to a minute. Ooh.
No! God, please, no! No!
Well, that's it. Steak cooked with rosemary, thyme, garlic, butter. It's a bit overcooked, but it's still good. Well, hopefully, next time I make steak, I won't overcook it. I'll use a thermometer because this didn't look that good. Well, it is what it is. Tomato soup. I'm out.